going to read you the last bit again. Sometimes I feel how that infinite darkness calls to the darkness inside me. Remember where you come from. Remember what you are. And the darkness inside me sings back. The poet is asking us to lean into what is possible. Not to skip over the time of darkness, but to remember, and to include the deep wisdom inside it before we move forward. Is it the shortest day? Is it the longest night? It's both. Winter solstice marks the point where the sun reaches its lowest daily path in the sky and then begins rising again. Many cultures throughout history have seen this as a turning point, the return of more light. Astronomically, this event is more like a natural reset of the sun's annual cycle than a date like January 1st. It turns out that in the year 1852, Pope Gregory XIII determined to correct the Julian calendar, which had been established by Julius Caesar. The Julian calendar was about 10 days too long. By skipping those days and by clearly defining leap year, the Gregorian calendar was able to be more in sync with the seasons and keep important holidays from shifting to seasonal context that didn't fit. On paper, January 1st is the beginning, but the planet marks time differently. This is something we can use to our advantage. Whether or not you connect deeply to the turning rhythm, as a Pacific Northwesterner, you will definitely notice the lengthening light. We can take that as an invitation to prepare for the coming beginning on the calendar. As the shift is coming, as the light is coming, what do you imagine for yourself, your community, even the world, that you can prepare for now? The danger of this season is not the darkness itself. The danger is in our discomfort, trying to rush through it or skip over it. There is a particular kind of spiritual dishonesty that shows up in this time of year. The insistence that light must be triumphant, joy must be immediate, and hope must be loud. We experiment with trying to silence our grief with some sparkle. We rush toward reassurance. We mistake denial for resilience. But darkness is not empty. It's holding something. The dark is where seeds split open. The dark is where gestation happens. The dark is where our eyes may adjust enough to see what has been there all along. I want to share with you from Howard Thurman's 1980 commencement address at Spelman College. He said, "There is something in every one of you that waits, listens for the sound of the genuine in yourself. And if you cannot hear it, you will never find whatever it is for which you are searching. And if you hear it, and then do not follow it, it was better that you were never born." I don't want to go that hard today. You are already born, right? I invite you beyond the doorway of regret. But I do want you to imagine that it's a serious reflection, not a throwaway moment based on some shallow idea. We can reflect without punishing ourselves, without supposing that correction is the same as punishment, or that accountability is always punitive. Chance Hunter writes about grace this way. Grace is always there waiting to happen. Grace is very patient. And polite. Grace never imposes it. Grace can surprise us, but it doesn't force itself on us. Grace is a willing partner and a constant friend, but it never invades, even when our experience of grace feels magic prayer we can pray that will guarantee that we receive grace. We receive grace not because we deserve it, but because the universe is fundamentally a generous place. That there is life at all is a sign of grace. That there are people like us walking around on the earth after billions of biological years of accident, that surely is grace. What's the deep, quiet truth of who we are beneath fear, performance, and social pressure? Thurman believed that if we listened carefully enough, we could hear it. But he also knew that the conditions of modern life, especially for those living under systems of domination, make that listening difficult. Solstice spirituality invites us to slow down enough to listen again, to trust that the dark has something to teach about who we are and what we need. And this is not just personal work. It is communal, it is political, it is theological. Howard Thurman goes on to remind us, you are the only you that has ever lived. Your idiom is the only idiom of its kind in all of existence. And if you cannot hear the sound of the genuine in you, you will, all of your life, spend your days on the ends of strings that someone else pulls. We are living through overlapping crises: ecological devastation, political violence, economic precarity, rising authoritarianism, ongoing racial injustice, and profound loneliness. Many of us are tired in ways that sleep cannot fix. Many of us are grieving losses we find difficult to name. In other words, our strings are being pulled. And now is the time to listen for authentic responses from ourselves and our communities, our partners, people who are looking to join us and strengthen us. Soon we will undertake stewardship with the theme, Ready, Set, Grow. What are we growing toward? The time of darkness and preparation shifting toward the light gives us time to imagine the answer. The temptation to treat solstice as a metaphorical light switch. Today it's dark, tomorrow it's bright, problem solved. But that's not how the world works. And it's not how healing works. The light returns slowly, incrementally, almost invisibly at first, and it returns not because we forced it to, but because we stayed. To stay with the dark, to refuse to rush past it, is an act of resistance. It resists the capitalist demand that everything be productive. It resists the cultural lie that worth is measured by cheerfulness. Good day. It resists the spiritual bypass that says that suffering must be immediately redeemed to be meaningful. Staying allows us to ask better questions. What has this year taken from us? What has it revealed? What has it stripped away that no longer serves? What has survived, even when we thought it wouldn't? And perhaps, most importantly, who has been holding us in the dark? Because none of us get through the night alone. Community care is not an add-on to spiritual life. It is its foundation. We are shaped, sustained, and saved by one another, not abstractly, but materially. Through meals delivered, text messages sent at the right moment, rides offered, bills quietly paid, boundaries respected, bodies welcomed as they are. Liberation is not an individual achievement, it is a collective process. Howard Thurman believed that the movement toward justice begins in the inner life, but it cannot remain there. He first extends an invitation for us to But then he goes on to imagine that there's more. Now there is something in everybody that waits and listens for the sound of the genuine in other people. And it is so easy to say that anybody who looks like him or her, anybody who acts as this person acts, can't hear any sound of the genuine. I must wait and listen for the sound of the genuine in you. I must wait. For if I cannot hear it, then in my scheme of things, you are not even present. And everyone wants to feel that everybody else knows that she is there. Look around. Who is there? Solstice holds these together. It asks us to tend the inner fire while preparing for outward change, and to keep our commitment to connect with one another even when it is difficult. So here's the question Solstice places before us. As the light begins to return, slowly, stubbornly, what are we preparing for? Not resolutions. You are not a product. Not fantasies, but real, grounded preparation. What do you want to be more ready for by the time the light is stronger? More ready to tell the truth? More ready to ask for help? More ready to resist injustice? More ready to offer care from abundance and from strength of self and from our circle of community? More ready to imagine a future that does not continue to bring with it all the harm of the past? Preparation does not require perfection. It requires honesty. So, I want to offer you a gentle invitation. As the light turns back towards us, I invite you to resist the urge to rush. Let the darkness finish its work. Listen for what it has been teaching you about your limits, your longings, and your capacity for care. I invite you to imagine liberation not as a dramatic breakthrough, but as a steady widening of who belongs, whose needs matter, and how we take responsibility for one another. The darkness inside us is singing back. We have listened before. We have stayed when it would have been easier to rush on or to pretend that everything was fine. We have learned together how to sit with what is unfinished and still care for one another. We have been held in the dark by people who showed up. And because we have been held, we know how to hold. We can listen, again, for what is genuine in ourselves and in one another. We can stay with the slow work of healing and justice without demanding instant answers. We can prepare, not by becoming perfect, but by being present. Together we can resist the lie that says we must rush toward the light at the cost of truth. We can make room for grief, for rest, for courage that grows quietly. Together we can practice care that is mutual, sustainable, and real. The light will return the way it always does, slowly. And when it does, we will be here, rooted in what we have learned, connected to one another, and ready for the work ahead. So may we live.